The alien fleet floated near a dying star, silent and broken. They were once proud warships of the Galactic Alliance, with bright colors and strong shields. Now their colors were faded, and their lights barely flickered. Engines had stopped working. Food was almost gone, and oxygen tanks were nearly empty. The crew members moved slowly, tired from hunger and weak air. They didn't talk much anymore, only watched the dark space outside, hoping for a miracle. Captain Viruk stood on the bridge of the command ship, his hands gripping the rail. He was from the Thalzer race, tall and armored, with blue-gray skin and sharp eyes. He had led many battles before, but this was the first time he felt helpless. One jump through hyperspace had gone wrong. The fleet was pushed far away, to a part of space no one explored. No stars nearby, no planets, only a dying sun and silence. They had tried to repair the jump drive, but it was useless. They had sent signals, but no answer came today. Viruk walked into the communication room, where a single technician worked. The technician looked up weakly. "Captain, the beacon is still running, but no reply." Viruk nodded slowly. "Send one last signal. Put all power into it." The technician hesitated. "That will take our last backup energy." Viruk didn't blink. "Do it. If we don't try, we die here anyway." The technician turned and pressed the controls. The beacon glowed red and sent out a high-frequency call across the stars. Then it went dark, and the screens turned off. The ship was now fully running on emergency power, barely enough for lights and air. Viruk left the room. Walking through the silent halls, he passed crew members sitting on the floor, some sleeping, some staring into space. A young alien girl cried quietly, her mother holding her close. Viruk's chest felt heavy. He had failed his people, but deep in his heart, he still hoped someone would hear them. Hours passed, or maybe it was days. Time was hard to track without systems. The crew had stopped waiting. Many believed this was the end. But then, a sound, faint but sharp, echoed through the broken speakers. The communication room lit up. Just for a second, the technician jumped to his feet. "Captain, come quickly." Viruk ran in, eyes wide. "What is it?" The technician pointed, hands shaking. "We got a response." The signal was strange, the code unknown. But after a moment, it translated into words they could understand. A human voice came through the static, calm and deep. "This is the Earth vessel Resolute Dawn. We received your distress signal. We're en route to your location. Hold on." The room went silent. No one spoke. Everyone stared at the message. "Viruk, step forward. Earth, that can't be right," another officer said. "Humans? But they're primitive. They don't have deep spaceships," someone else whispered. "Maybe it's a trick." But the signal came again. "We see your fleet on long-range scan. Your ships are damaged. We have medical supplies, food, power, and towing equipment. We will reach you in 14 hours. Stand by." Viruk stood still, thinking. He had read about humans small, new to the galaxy. No one took them seriously. They were not part of the great alliances. No one expected them to fly this far. But now, one of their ships had responded. 14 hours passed like a dream. The alien crews cleaned what they could, straightened uniforms, and waited. Some still thought it was a trap. Others hoped it was real. Children were told to stay quiet, and everyone was told to prepare for anything. Then they saw it. On the edge of their vision, a massive shape moved. It came out of the blackness. Slow and steady, the Resolute Dawn. It didn't look like any known design. Its armor was thick, dark, and shaped like a beast. Weapons were visible, but offline, showing peace. Energy levels were too high for a young species like Earth. The alien fleet buzzed with whispers. "How did they build that? Is that a dreadnought?" Viruk's eyes narrowed as he watched the human ship move closer. No other ships followed it. Just one human vessel came for them. One was enough. A channel opened, and the human voice returned. "This is Commander Marcus Kane of the Resolute Dawn. We are here to help. No payment needed. Prepare for docking. "We are bringing supplies aboard." Varrock took a breath, then spoke into the cum. "This is Captain Varrock of the Alliance ship Zarex." "We. Thank you." He paused, then added, "You are welcome aboard." Minutes later, docking arms extended from the human ship. They moved with precision, like they had done this 100 times. The airlocks opened, and humans in suits stepped onto the alien decks. They carried crates, food, oxygen tanks, medical gear, and something else, hope. Varrock watched from a distance as a human handed a drink to a crying child. The child smiled for the first time in days. Another human gently helped an old alien to stand. Commander Kane appeared, removing his helmet. He looked around, nodded, and said just one line. "No one gets left behind." Varrock felt something shift inside him. Maybe humans were not what the galaxy thought they were. Maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something new, something powerful, something dangerous, and something that would never be forgotten. The alien crew stood frozen, staring out the cracked windows of their damaged ships. The human warship was not just large, it was terrifying. It moved like a predator through the darkness, slow and steady, as if nothing could stop it. The ship's outer hull was made of thick black metal with long lines and sharp angles. Strange lights moved along the surface, and heat signatures showed power levels too strong for its size. But it wasn't just the ship's strength that shocked the aliens. It was the fact that it had come at all. The Alliance fleet was stranded, helpless, floating like broken bones in space. And yet, here came the humans. Inside the command deck of the Resolute Dawn, Commander Marcus Kane stood watching the alien ships. His crew worked silently around him, running scans, preparing docking lines, checking defense systems. Still no weapons detected from them, said his first officer. "They're in worse shape than we thought." Kane nodded. "Begin docking protocol. Bring medical and food units to the front." Then he paused. "And keep the TITA and locked down." His officer looked up. "Are you sure we shouldn't show it? Might make them think twice before trying anything." "They're not a threat," Kane replied. "And I don't want our first meeting to start with fear." The Resolute Dawn extended its docking arms, long, flexible bridges covered in armor and energy seals. The main bridge locked onto the lead alien ship Zarex, and the clamps hissed into place. Hatches opened, and human crews stepped into the dim halls of the alien cruiser. Gasps filled the corridors as the aliens saw the humans in their dark suits, eyes glowing behind face shields. Captain Varrock stood tall. Though his body was weak, he faced the human, who stepped forward. The human removed his helmet, revealing a face with tired eyes, short hair, and a calm expression. "I'm Commander Marcus Kane," he said simply. "We're here to help." Varrock gave a slight nod. "I am Captain Varrock of the Alliance. Welcome aboard." Kane turned to his team. "Move fast. Find the sick. Set up emergency packs." The humans began handing out food bars and oxygen tanks. Water packs were passed around, and portable lights lit up the dark halls. A little alien girl took a bite from a human food bar and started crying, not from pain, but from relief. One of the crew gave her a soft blanket and patted her head gently. Varrock watched it all in silence, unsure what to think. These humans, so unknown, so unexpected, were saving them without asking anything in return. Later, Varrock was invited aboard the human ship. He agreed, but brought his science officer with him. When they stepped into the Resolute Dawn, they were stunned. The inside was unlike anything in Alliance design, clean, smooth, glowing softly. With energy, walls shifted slightly as if alive, healing themselves. Floors hummed with steady power, and small machines floated through the air doing repairs. "Your ship. It feels alive," the science officer whispered. Kane smiled a little. "It's not alive, but it's smart." Varrock narrowed his eyes. "You built all this on your own?" Kane nodded. "In just under 10 Earth years." Varrock couldn't hide his shock. 10 years? That's impossible." Kane didn't answer. He just kept walking. They passed by a sealed hallway with red lights flashing above it. The science officer asked, "What's that section?" Kane paused. "That area is restricted." "Why?" Varric asked quietly. Kane looked at him, his voice calm but firm. "Because what's in there is not meant to be woken unless absolutely necessary." The alien officer said nothing more. But his eyes were filled with questions. Later, while the humans handed out more supplies, one alien technician grew curious. He slipped away from his post and entered the restricted hallway through a maintenance hatch. He walked slowly, heart pounding. The lights were dim, but something pulsed ahead there. In the center of the sealed room stood a giant figure, a humanoid mech, twice the size of any soldier, covered in thick plating. Its arms were folded across its chest, and red warning lights blinked along its body. Words written on its chest read, "Project Titan, do not wake code, last resort." The technician stepped closer, hand reaching out. Then, a voice echoed from the walls. "You shouldn't be here." The lights turned red. The door behind him slammed shut. Before he could scream, gas filled the room, putting him to sleep. He would wake up hours later in the medbay, with no memory of what he saw. Meanwhile, Varric met with Kane again on the bridge. "I must ask, Commander," Varric said slowly. "Why help us? We are strangers." Kane looked at the stars outside the window, then back at Varric. "Because we know what it feels like to be left alone in the dark," he said. "And we remember what it means when someone reaches out." Varric said nothing for a moment, then finally nodded. "You have saved my crew, Commander Kane, and I owe you." Kane smiled. "No debt, Captain. Just remember this moment when it's your turn to help someone else." Back on the alien ship, the crew slowly began to recover. Lights came back on, engines hummed faintly, and the smell of food filled the halls again. For the first time in weeks, the alien fleet felt alive. But deep within the human ship, the Titan still slept, waiting, watching, and ready, just in case. Help was not enough, and war returned to the stars once more. Aboard the alien ship Zarex, things were slowly improving. Lights had returned to the main halls. The food supply was no longer empty. Children were laughing again, even if weakly, and wounded officers were healing with human medicine. But there was one feeling that didn't go away: curiosity, everyone in the Alliance fleet was asking the same question. Who were these humans, really? Captain Varric stood near a wide window, looking at the human warship Resolute Dawn. Its presence was like a shadow, large, silent, and powerful. It had given them aid. But no one understood how such a small species had built such a ship. 10 Earth years, Varric whispered to himself. How can that be true? Down in the science bay, Varroc's chief researcher, a pale-skinned alien named Rillick, was pacing nervously. He had reviewed scans of the human ship, and something didn't make sense. "It doesn't match," he muttered. "The known tech, level of Earth, their timeline, their resources. This ship is beyond that." Another scientist said, "Maybe they had help." Rillick shook his head. "Or maybe they are not what we think they are." That same hour, Commander Kane gave permission for a small group of alien engineers to tour certain parts of Resolute Dawn. It was meant to build trust, but instead, it raised more questions. The engineering deck was quiet, humming with strange energy. Machines floated in the air, glowing blue, moving through the halls by themselves. Walls seemed to change shape as the engineers passed by, opening or closing based on their presence. "Is this AI controlled?" one alien asked. "No AI," said the human guide. "Just adaptive design." "From where?" the alien asked again. The guide didn't answer, just smiled. In the medbay, things were even stranger. A wounded alien soldier had been brought in with shattered bones. He was expected to die within hours, but the human doctors injected something into his bloodstream, a silvery fluid that moved like it had a mind of its own. Within minutes, the soldier was breathing easier, and his skin began to heal. "Your body is rebuilding faster than natural regeneration," the human doctor said calmly. The alien stared in disbelief. "What is that fluid?" Someone asked. The doctor only replied, "It's still experimental." Meanwhile, Varrock received a private message from one of his officers. "There's something strange in the human ship." It read, "Something they're hiding." Varrock stared at the words, thinking. He already had doubts. But now, they were growing deeper. Later that night, as artificial night lights dimmed across the ships, a young alien crewman named Tellin slipped quietly into the docking hall. He wore a stolen human badge and moved carefully along the shadows of the Resolute Dawn's side entrance. He had heard whispers about a sealed part of the ship, a place no one was allowed to go. He had to see it with his own eyes. He reached a maintenance shaft and crawled inside. It was tight and dark, but he followed the path he had memorized. Finally, he came to a vent that opened into a wide chamber. He peered through the gap, and his eyes widened in fear. Below him was a giant metal figure. It stood perfectly still, but the room was alive with warning signs, blinking red symbols, and coded locks. The figure was humanoid in shape, made of thick plates and glowing veins of energy running across its body. 2 giant arms, armored legs, and a head with no face, just a single red eye in the center. Words glowed on the wall behind it. Project TIT in Earth Defense, UNITIV. Tettelin's heart pounded. He realized what it was: not a machine for building, not a tool for help. It was a weapon. Just then, a soft sound echoed through the chamber. A hiss, then a whisper. "You shouldn't be here." Tellin jumped back. But the vent behind him closed shut. A small drone floated up beside him, scanning his face. "You will be escorted to recovery," it said in a robotic voice. Gas sprayed into the vent, and Tellin's vision went black. He woke up in a bed, back on the Zarex. His head hurt, and memories were blurry. He tried to remember what he saw, but it slipped through his mind like smoke. All he could recall was one word: Titan. Back on Resolute Dawn, Commander Kane reviewed the incident. Was memory suppression successful? He asked the medical eye. Yes, Commander. Subject Tellin will not recall the full image." The eye replied. Kane sighed. "Good. It's too early for them to know." Later, Varrock met Kane on the observation deck again. "I sense that you are holding something back," Varrock said slowly. Kane didn't lie, but he didn't tell the full truth either. "We all have things we're not ready to share." "Captain," he said. "But we came to help and we meant it." Varrock nodded, but his eyes stayed sharp. "You are more advanced than the galaxy believes, Commander. And Earth is not a weak world anymore." Kane gave a small smile. "No, we're not. But we've learned to stay quiet until the time is right." That night, as both fleets rested, something stirred in the shadows, far from the ships, on the edge of a nearby moon. A hidden signal was triggered. It had picked up the energy pulse from the human dreadnought's engines. Now it sent that information to a faraway place, a place where ancient enemies watched, waited, and remembered the name. Earth. Tension was rising among the stranded alien fleet. Even as their systems were slowly coming back online, the feeling of unease did not go away. Humans had arrived and helped them, yes, but their ship was too powerful, their medicine too advanced, their weapons too hidden, and they were still strangers. Captain Varrock watched from his command room as alien diplomats argued with each other on the holoscreen. One alien ambassador from the Sirex species slammed his fist on the table. "You trust them too quickly," he growled. "They're not even part of the Galactic Alliance." Another ambassador, from the bird-like Qurayshi, said calmly, "They saved our children, gave us food, and asked for nothing. That's exactly the problem." The Sirex snapped. "Who gives away that much without a reason?" "They want something, we just don't know what." Varrock ended the meeting with a wave of his hand. He didn't say anything, but the doubt was already crawling in his thoughts. What were the humans hiding? Meanwhile, aboard the human dreadnought Resolute Dawn, the mood was different. The crew worked with quiet focus, preparing new supply packs and reinforcing the docking tubes. Commander Kane stood in a private chamber, listening to a secure message. From Earth, the screen showed only text. "Do not reveal advanced systems. Maintain aid efforts. Monitor alien fleets for hostile intent. Kane nodded to himself and closed the message. He turned to his officer. Any strange readings from the sector? The officer hesitated. Sir, we picked up a faint energy surge from a nearby asteroid field. Source? Kane asked. Unknown, the officer said. But it wasn't natural. Kane narrowed his eyes. Keep scanners running on high frequency, he said, and alert me if anything moves. Back on the alien ship Zarex, one of Varrock's engineers approached him quietly. Captain, she said, we decoded part of the energy signature from the human ship. What did you find? Varrock asked. It's using quantum shielding technology we haven't seen even in Core Alliance fleets. She whispered. Varrock's eyes darkened. Why would a new species have such tech? Unless they weren't really new at all. Some alien officers, secretly fearful, started sending silent messages to their homeworlds. Encrypted warnings, short and urgent. Humans have Dreadnought-class ship. High energy weapons, advanced. Healing, possibly hiding war units. Request immediate council session. Earth may be a rising threat, but not everyone was afraid. Many alien crew members had grown friendly with the humans. Some shared meals, exchanged stories, even laughed together in quiet corners. A young Koreshi pilot said, they don't feel like monsters, they feel like people. A Thalzer officer replied, yes, and that's what scares me the most. That evening, the stars around them began to shift. A strange distortion appeared near the edge of the asteroid field. Human scanners picked it up instantly. Something's coming, said the officer. And it's not responding to comms. The alien ships didn't believe it. We've checked that field. It's empty, said one alien commander. Probably just solar interference, said another. But the humans had already powered up their defense grid. Without warning, their weapons charged. Armor plates slid into place, and energy shields rose over the Resolute Dawn. Kane's voice echoed over the open comms. All ships, prepare for contact. Varrock blinked in confusion. What contact? There's nothing there. And then, the space near the asteroid cracked, not broke, not exploded, but cracked like glass under pressure. From within that crack, dark shapes poured out, long ships with jagged edges, black armor like insect shells, and glowing red engines. The Zarkesh, an ancient enemy thought extinct. They moved in complete silence, not broadcasting signals, not asking questions. They had come to feed. The alien fleet panicked. Many ships were still not fully repaired. And some couldn't move at all, were sitting targets, an officer cried. They're going to harvest us, someone whispered. Captain Varrock stared at the red ships approaching, his hand shaking slightly. No shields. No weapons ready. We're defenseless. Then a human voice cut through the panic. Kane's voice, strong and calm. All alien ships, fall back and stay close to the Resolute Dawn. We'll engage first, buy you time, the human dreadnought turned toward the Zarkesh without hesitation, plasma weapons armed, kinetic railguns locked on targets, and one massive launch bay opened near the center of the ship. Varrock watched it all, stunned. They're not running, he said. They're going in alone. The Resolute Dawn unleashed its fury. Blue plasma cut through the black ships. Railguns fired bolts that exploded on impact. Missiles curved through space like fire serpents, striking hard and fast. The Zarkesh responded with their own weapons, biological spikes and energy webs, but the human shields held. Then something even more terrifying happened. A giant shape dropped from the belly of the Resolute Dawn. It fell toward the enemy fleet, then activated thrusters. The alien crews saw it clearly humanoid. Armored, glowing, the Titan, the secret weapon now revealed. It crashed into a Zarkesh ship, ripped open the hull, and tore it apart with glowing arms. The alien ship screamed in strange frequencies. Retreating for the first time, Varrock whispered, "They built that just in case." The battle was far from over, but one thing was clear now. Humans weren't just helpers. They were warriors, and the galaxy had underestimated them for far too long. Explosions lit up the cold space. the alien fleet floated behind. The giant human warship, shielded like frightened birds hiding under a mountain shadow. The resolute Dawn didn't retreat, didn't hesitate. It moved forward alone, one warship against a swarm, and somehow it held the line. Inside the command center of the human ship, Commander Marcus Kane stood with eyes locked on the screen. "Target lock, Group 5. His weapons officer called out. "Fire when ready," Kane replied calmly. The railguns boomed again, launching heavy rounds into the enemy fleet. Zarkesh vessels shattered on impact, spraying metallic debris into the void. But the swarm kept coming. "They're surrounding us," said the tactical officer, "forming a ring." "Pattern." Kane narrowed his eyes. "They want to bypass us." "Reach the civilian pods." He slammed his fist on the table. "Not on my watch." The Titan unit, still glowing with white-hot plasma, rocketed toward the largest Zarkesh warship. It punched through the hull like a spear through soft flesh. Inside the alien ship, the creature pilots screamed in pain as energy surged through their biocircuits. In seconds, the ship broke apart, bursting into flames aboard the alien fleet. Captain Veruk watched in shock. This was no ordinary mech. It moved like it had a mind. No pilot visible, no visible control link. And yet, it fought with perfect timing, brutal efficiency. "What is that thing?" One officer whispered. Veruk didn't answer because deep inside, he didn't know either. On the screen, the enemy ships changed tactics now. A section of the Zarkesh force broke off and turned toward the unarmed refugee pods behind the main fleet. They weren't going to fight, they were going to harvest. Everyone knew what that meant. Kane's voice cut through the comms. "All ships, this is Commander Kane. Prepare for defensive formation around the refugee pods. We'll handle the strike team ourselves, but you'll be outnumbered." Someone shouted. Kane responded, "We've been outnumbered before." He stepped away from the command chair and walked down to a small hangar bay. Inside was a sleek, old-model fighter manual controls. No auto-aim, no AI assist. He climbed in without a word, sealed the hatch and activated launch. The fighter launched out like a bullet, blazing through the battlefield. The human officers on the bridge exchanged glances. "He's doing it again." One said. The other sighed. "He always does, in space." Kane weaved between explosions and broken ships, pushing his fighter to its limits. He targeted the lead Zarkesh in the attack group and opened fire. Energy blasts tore through its armor, but two more enemy ships flanked him. He dodged, twisted, and fired back, destroying one, damaging another. But his ship was taking hits too. Warnings flashed on his screen, and smoke began filling the cockpit. Still, he didn't stop. Back on the Zarex, Veruk was watching the feed. The human commander, this Kane, was diving into death, just to protect aliens he barely knew. Why? Why would any species do that? One of the human officers on Resolute Dawn opened a secure channel to Veruk. "We need your help," she said. "Our commander is out there alone, and we're trying to redirect power to keep the Titan running." Veruk stood. "What do you need from us?" "Engineers, tech support, extra core energy, anything you can spare." Veruk looked around his bridge, then nodded. He sent the order, and alien engineers ran to their systems, opening transfer channels for the first time in this disaster. Human and alien technology worked together. Pipes glowed with new energy. Servers sensed with strange rhythms. Across both fleets, power flowed. The Titan responded first. It turned mid-battle and flew straight toward Kane's smoking fighter. One enemy ship launched a spike torpedo directly at Kane, but the TITA and caught it mid-air and crushed it like paper. Then it grabbed Kane's disabled fighter gently, shielding it with one arm while fighting with the other. Laser fire bounced off its armor. An explosion shook the stars, but it didn't fall. "Emergency pod ejection complete," a voice announced inside Resolute Dawn. Kane had been pulled out of the wreckage, safely transferred to a med unit, but he was unconscious, back in the command room. The humans fought harder, alien officers. joined in, offering targeting data, shielding support, and extra firepower, side by side. Species that once feared each other now fought as one. The Zarkesh didn't expect resistance like this. They began to retreat, slowly at first, then in panic. The human dreadnought fired one last plasma beam, cutting through the largest enemy. Ship and ending the battle, silence returned to space. Broken ships drifted, and fires slowly faded. But the fleet was still alive inside the medbay. Kane opened his eyes. Blurry shapes stood around him, human doctors, alien engineers, and Captain Virak. Kane tried to sit up. Did we win? Virak nodded slowly. You didn't just win, Commander. You showed us something we forgot. Kane blinked, confused. Virak continued. You reminded us how to fight together. That night, the stars above them felt different, not colder, not darker but closer, because in the fire of battle, a new alliance had started, and the galaxy had just learned humans don't run, they protect, even if it kills them. The battlefield was quiet, but it wasn't peace. It was the kind of silence that came after something terrible. The alien fleet drifted near the wreckage of enemy ships, engines barely humming, shields cracked. The resolute Dawn hovered at the center like a silent mountain among ruins, its armor scorched, its hull marked, but it stood strong. Inside the medbay, Commander Kane lay resting. Machines blinked beside him, tracking his breathing and heart rate. Doctors whispered, keeping their voices low. He's stable, one said. But he pushed his body too far, another replied. He always does. Kane's eyes opened slowly. Light hurt his vision, but he could hear the hum of the engines. I'm still alive? He whispered. A soft voice answered. Barely. Standing beside him was Captain Virak. The alien commander looked tired but firm. You fought like a beast, Virak said, and nearly became a dead one. Kane gave a weak smile. Was it worth it? Virak nodded. Yes, it was. But the celebration didn't last long. A new alert rang across the human ship. Unidentified signals were approaching fast. Not Zarkesh, not any known fleet, something different, report, said the human officer at the helm. Multiple ships, unknown design, no ID, but high energy readings. Kane, still lying in the medbed, forced himself to sit up. Put it on screen, he ordered. Voice low but steady. The screen lit up with moving ships, sleek, sharp-edged, glowing with deep blue lights. They moved in perfect formation, like a school of predators. Virak frowned. That's not an invasion fleet. That's an observer fleet. Kane narrowed his eyes. They were watching us fight the Zarkesh, he said, voice now cold. Virak nodded slowly. Maybe they were testing us. Back in the comms room of the alien ship Zarex, a message came through encrypted, and not from the observers. It was from the Galactic Council. The message was short. Stand down. Do not engage. Earth is to be monitored. Not contacted. Do not share tech. Do not form alliance. Virak read the message twice, then deleted it. He had already made his choice elsewhere. Alien engineers and human technicians worked side by side. They were fixing damaged weapons, restoring life support, sharing tools. A young alien mechanic stared at a human blueprint and shook his head. You built all this from scratch? The human smiled. No, we built it from fear. The alien looked confused. The human explained. We saw what was coming and no one helped us. So we built our own shield in another section of the ship. The Titan stood inside its chamber, motionless again, but not sleeping. Its core was active, glowing softly like a quiet heartbeat. Virak walked in alone, standing before the massive machine. Are you alive? He whispered. The Titan didn't answer, but the lights around it shifted slightly. Not enough to be called a response, but not silence either. Later that cycle, Virak and Kane sat together near the viewing deck. The debris from the battle drifted slowly outside like black snow in deep space. More ships will come, Virak said. The Council will want answers. Kane nodded. Let them come. You're not afraid? Virak asked. Kane leaned back. We've been afraid before, and it made us weak. Now, we're ready. Suddenly, a signal came through this time. From one of the mysterious observer ships, a deep, translated voice spoke. Human vessel, you have demonstrated unexpected capability. State your intention in this sector. Kane stood tall and walked to the console. He pressed the reply button and said one word, rescue. There was silence. Then the voice responded. You risked everything for aliens you do not know. Explain this action. Kane answered. Because that's what humans do. We don't leave people to die in the dark. Another pause. Then a chilling statement. Your species is no longer what we believed it was. Kane smirked. Good. Maybe now you'll take us seriously. The screen went black. The observer fleet turned and silently warped out of range. No attack, no warning, just observation. Viruk exhaled deeply. I think you've just made half the galaxy nervous. Kane shrugged. Better than being ignored. Hours later, the combined fleet gathered in one large formation. Humans and aliens stood together, scarred, bruised, but united. A ceremony was held. No fancy speeches, no long titles. Just a quiet agreement, an unspoken promise to never forget what happened, and to never let each other face death alone again. The Resolute Dawn powered its engines, and the Titan was returned to its deep chamber. Ready, waiting, not as a tool of war, but as a reminder that Earth was not weak, not anymore. Captain Viruk watched the humans prepare for departure. Kane walked up beside him, helmet under one arm. You're leaving? Viruk asked. Only for now, Kane said. But next time. You won't be stranded, he paused. You'll be ready. Then the human ship pulled away, turning its nose toward the stars. Its engines roared silently, and in a flash, it was gone. But the mark it left on the galaxy was just beginning to spread, and every race who had once laughed at Earth now watched them closely, very closely. The stars had grown quiet again. But no one in the alien fleet slept easily. Even after the humans left, the weight of what they had witnessed remained. The Resolute Dawn was gone, but its presence still echoed through every deck and hallway, and the image of the Titan tearing through enemy ships had burned itself into the minds of every survivor. Captain Viruk stood before the Galactic Council's emergency meeting. The holograms of 12 alien leaders flickered before him, their faces hard and cold. You disobeyed direct orders, one counselor hissed. You allowed contact, shared systems, and supported unknown human technology. Viruk remained calm. Because they saved our lives, another counselor snapped, and revealed a weapon unlike anything we've seen. Do you not understand the threat? I understand this, Viruk said, stepping forward. We would be dead if not for them. The humans didn't ask for territory, resources, or power. They just acted. The room fell silent. But no one praised him. No one thanked the humans. Instead, they only stared in fear. After the meeting, Viruk walked through the docking bay, where alien engineers were still repairing systems. A young Korechi technician looked up. Do you think they'll come back? Viruk paused, then nodded. Yes, when they're needed most, they'll come. Far from the council chambers, in a hidden part of space, something else stirred. The battle with the Zarkesh had not gone unnoticed. Old empires, sleeping powers, and deep-world tyrants had received the same signal. A warship not registered in galactic logs. A mech with unmatched power, and humans no longer weak. They all whispered one word in private. Earth. One of those empires, the Akar Dominion, was not pleased. They believed in strength, in fear, in control. And the idea that humans, once considered primitive, now had a dreadnought and a weapon like Titan, was unacceptable. A message was sent to the last survivors of the Zarkesh swarm. We will give you power, give you direction, strike again, strike harder, destroy their symbol. The mission was clear. Find Resolute Dawn, destroy it publicly, and show the galaxy that Earth was not to be trusted. Back on Earth, inside the hidden base under the Pacific Ocean, Commander Marcus Kane stood before a wide glass window. Below him, engineers worked on a second dreadnought under construction sleeker. Faster, stronger. A voice spoke behind him. The aliens are afraid of us now. Kane didn't turn. They should be. The voice belonged to Admiral Reyes. A woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. But fear can lead to alliances, she said, or it can lead to war. Kane nodded. Let's be ready for both. Suddenly, alarms began to ring across the base. Red lights flashed, and comms exploded with noise. Unidentified ship just entered the system. Hostile signature repeat. Hostile. Zarkesh design with Dominion upgrades. Kane's face hardened. He walked calmly to the command chair and sat down. Bring Resolute Dawn online. He ordered. We end this before it spreads. Minutes later, the massive ship rose from the ocean into orbit. The Titan was already in place, its systems glowing brighter than ever before. This time, Earth was not responding to a distress signal. This time, they were the target. The enemy ship came in fast, spitting black fire through space. It carried new weapons designed to counter human systems, but they had miscalculated. Humans had adapted again. Stronger armor, faster targeting, smarter AI, and something else, something not seen before. The Resolute Dawn now had a second Titan, smaller, more agile, codenamed Strike. As the enemy entered Earth's defense zone, both mechs launched at once. The fight was brutal, over Earth's orbit. Blasts shook the skies, energy beams sliced the darkness, and shields flickered in bright blue patterns. But this was Earth's home, and here, the humans fought like beasts defending their den. Kane commanded from the bridge, issuing orders with calm precision. No mercy, he said. This is a warning to the galaxy. Don't come here thinking we'll lie down. The enemy ship cracked open under the combined attack of the Titan and Strike units. The Dominion weapons failed to stop them, and the core exploded in a wave of light. Debris rained over the ocean, but no part touched the land. Earth remained unharmed. Back in space, as the pieces floated in silence, Kane stared out the window. Varrock's voice came over the encrypted channel. I saw the fight, Varrock said. The galaxy saw it too, Kane replied. Let them. They need to know we're not prey. Varrock hesitated, then said, some are already preparing more fleets, some for war, some for alliance. Where do you stand, Captain? Kane asked. Varrock didn't pause. With Earth. That same day, across multiple alien networks, a message was broadcast from an unknown source. It showed humans fighting, humans saving, humans bleeding for others, and at the end, one sentence appeared. Earth stood alone, but not anymore. Species from the outer systems began to send signals, requests for talks, for trade, for defense treaties, not from fear, but from hope. Maybe, just maybe, this new power in the stars wasn't here to conquer. Maybe it was here to protect. And high above Earth, the Resolute Dawn floated silently, watching, waiting, ready. The galaxy was changing, not through war or politics, but through one simple truth. Earth had arrived, and they hadn't come to bow. Far beyond the central systems, across thousands of light years, stories were spreading. Whispers on trading posts, soldier camps, and royal courts, tales of a single human warship standing against the Zarkesh, of a metal giant, the Titan, tearing through fleets with fire. In its chest, of Commander Marcus Kane, who flew into death to save aliens he didn't even know, and survived in the Galactic Council chambers. Debates had turned to arguments. Some species wanted to blacklist Earth, isolate it, control it. Others said Earth had done what no one else dared: defend the helpless. Captain Varrock stood before the council again, his voice strong and steady. We all watched them fight, he said, but none of us moved, and yet the humans did. Not for power, not for land, but because it was right. Can any of you say the same? His words struck hard, and silence fell across the chamber. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the Resolute Dawn hovered above the blue planet. Its hull had been repaired, stronger than before. Inside the ship, engineers worked on expanding the docking. Bays, 2 more Titan-class mechs were being constructed, but not as weapons. They were called Guardians. Commander Kane stood on the observation deck, watching the world below. His uniform was worn, his body tired, but his eyes were sharp, Admiral. Reyes walked beside him, arms crossed. "You've changed the galaxy," she said quietly. Kane didn't answer right away. Then he said, "I didn't want to. I just didn't want to leave anyone behind." A signal pinged across the ship's systems. It wasn't an alert this time. It was an invitation from Varuk and several independent alien captains. Propose meeting, neutral ground. Discuss united fleet training and shared defense protocols. Reyes smiled. "They're coming to us now." Kane nodded. "They're beginning to understand." Soon, a small alien convoy arrived in Earth orbit. No flags, no demands, no arrogance, just ships full of leaders, soldiers, scholars, ready to learn. The meeting was held on Luna Station, orbiting Earth's moon. Kane stood before the group of gathered species. Some wore armor, some wore robes, some had no faces at all. But all listened as the human commander spoke. "We don't want to rule," Kane said simply. "We don't want to conquer, but we won't hide anymore. We'll defend the weak, we'll fight for peace, and we'll stand beside anyone who chooses to stand with us. Because when you're alone in space, it's kindness that saves you, not fear." There was silence, then a slow nod from Captain Viruk, and then another from a Koreshi diplomat, and another, and another. One by one, they stood in agreement. Later that night, as the stars passed over Luna Station, something beautiful happened. The first official United Defense Pact was signed not by governments, but by warship commanders, not on paper, but with shared fuel, shared shields, shared data. And in that moment, something rare was born: trust. The Resolute Dawn became the flagship of this new fleet, not because it was the strongest, but because it was the first to act, and across the galaxy, others began to follow. Smaller human ships reached out to remote worlds, bringing food, repair crews, and translators. Alien captains began to use Earth's technology modified by human engineers to work with any species and Earth. Earth began preparing not for war, but for responsibility. For the first time in its history, it was no longer just protecting its own. It was watching over others in deep space. A small ship sent a distress call. Its engines were dead. Life support failing. The crew prepared to die, alone in the dark. Then, a light appeared, growing brighter. A massive silhouette shaped like a sword cutting through the stars. It was the Resolute Dawn. A human voice came over the comms, calm and familiar. "This is Commander Kane of Earth. We heard you. Help is here." Tears filled the eyes of the alien crew. They were saved, not by kings, not by armies, but by them, the humans, back on Earth. A child pointed at the sky as a star streaked overhead. "Is that one of ours?" she asked. Her father smiled. Maybe it's going to help someone." Because now, across the stars, Earth was no longer just a planet. It was a promise that even in the darkest part of space, someone would come, someone would care, and someone would fight, not because they had to, but because they chose to. And so the legend grew. The world once ignored had risen, not with armies, but with honor, not with threats, but with action. And the name Earth was no longer whispered. In doubt, it was spoken with respect and fear, by those who still believed power was taken, not earned. Because the galaxy had learned one final thing: when Earth hears a call for help, they answer.